Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Why so serious? Hello, and welcome to the Planet Earth What's Happening podcast. I am your host, Brian Mooney. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Catherine Nicole Custom Fragrance Collection. Go to CatherineNicoleFragrance.com and use the promo code PEWH10 and receive a 10% discount on all your smell good items. If you're interested in sponsoring this podcast, please shoot me an email at planetearthpodcast@outlook.com. I am considering more sponsors. I've only have one obviously currently, but I'm going to work on obtaining more as I get my audience up. So if you're interested, please shoot me an email. Or if you're interested in being a guest on my podcast, please shoot me an email and I'll try to squeeze you in where I can. So some local news today. I was working in a development over in Lewis called Red Mill Pond, and me and a coworker actually came upon a blazing house fire. It was almost awful to watch. We were working in the development. We left the development to move on somewhere else, saw the smoke in the distance, turned around to go see where it was, and it just so happens 10 minutes later, this house is up in flames and almost gone completely. And this is going to be a part of it where I start pissing out of my ass because it kind of pisses me off. Because today, I don't know much about house construction. I work in underground utilities, water and wastewater, but I have a little common sense when it comes to building homes. And today, a lot of these builders that build these homes use synthetic materials. Synthetic materials aren't bad. It's cost effective, but today it's in your carpets, it's in your drapes, it's stuff that's chemical based, and these chemicals are flammable. These synthetic things, they're put together and they're almost imitation. There's composite woods. A lot of these houses aren't made out of real wood. It's just basically chemical treated, and it makes it very flammable. This house today caught fire because of a space heater. This house was up in flames. The top floor collapsed almost within like 10 minutes. We actually got there before the Lewis Fire Department. Thank you guys for arriving. Quick response, but we just happened to be in the area to catch this, and it was awful to watch. Luckily, nobody was hurt. The people were out. I believe what I heard, they were out or they weren't home at the time, but it just was really awful to watch. And seriously, a lot of these local builders build these cookie cutter homes. They squeeze all these people in that move down here, and they don't really care what happens afterwards. It's hurry up, get them built, get it done, and move on from it. We made our money. You're on your own at this point. And that's the kind of stuff that just pisses me off. And I hope everyone in this development just ends up selling their houses, because everyone witnessed today in this community how quick this house went up in flames. But I'm going to move on. I don't want to start pissing out of my ass too much. Thank you for letting me do that. Anyway, UFC news. UFC Fight Night St. Louis is coming up this Sunday, January 14th. The main event is featherweight Jeremy Stevens versus Do-Ho Cho. I swear that's his real name. Middleweight contention, Uriah Hall versus Vitor Belfort. That should be a pretty good one. Vitor Belfort's getting a little old, but it should be fun to watch him fight Uriah Hall. Women's flyweight, Paige Van St. versus Jessica Rose Clark. And welterweight, Kimura Usman versus Emil Weber-Meek. On the preliminary card is featherweight Darren Elkins versus Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson did drop down to featherweight from lightweight. Also, James Krause versus Alex White on that card. Also coming up in this January 20th, is the heavyweight matchup between Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. That should be a killer match. Light heavyweight contention, Daniel Cormier versus Volkan Oezdemir. Featherweight contention on that card, Calvin Kattar versus Shane Burrows. And light heavyweight action as well, Gian Villante versus Francismar Barrosa. That should be a pretty good card. Also, with UFC news, it just got announced March 3rd, UFC 222, Frankie Edgar versus Max Holloway is the main event. Also in UFC news, Dana White just gave Conor McGregor a deadline to come back and defend his lightweight title. He has until March or he's going to be stripped, and Khabib Nurmagomedov will fight Tony Ferguson for that title. So, moving on into EPL news. EPL comes up this weekend. We have a couple good games coming up on Saturday. Crystal Palace versus Burnley, Huddersfield versus West Ham, Newcastle versus Swansea City, and West Brom versus Brighton, and Watford versus Southampton. Chelsea FC versus Leicester, Tottenham Hotspurs versus Everton, and Bournemouth faces my Gunners. Arsenal and Liverpool versus Man City. That should be a pretty good one, even though Liverpool just sold off Philip Coutinho, which almost breaks my heart. But, hey, Barcelona's got the money to afford players like that. What also breaks my heart is that Alexis Sanchez is heading to Man City next week. I have no idea what's going on anymore in the league, but whatever. Everybody's buying up players. Everybody's trying to win. Arsenal seems to be keeping it traditional. That's why I'm a fan of them. They like their good old-fashioned homegrown players. How English soccer works, actually, is they raise these players from academy, from youth, all the way up to professional leagues. That's why English Premier League and the Spanish clubs are like top of the line. All these countries win the World Cup because of that stuff. It's like religion in those countries. But I'm done with the EPL stuff and the news. My guest today, actually, he's a good buddy of mine. I've known him for a long time, and he actually happens to be the co-host of a morning show on 102.5 WBOC with Sarah and Corey. He's a good buddy of mine. I appreciate it as him coming on, and I give you guys Corey Phoebus.
Get busy, y'all. Planet Earth. What's happening?
I think we're live. All right, Corey Phoebus, what's happening, man?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you offering to come on, by the way, because you're a pretty big name around here.
That's a mediocre name.
I don't know. Well, pretty big name for me. Every time I go on Facebook or Instagram, I would see you and Sarah's face. So tell me, I'm going to keep this like an interview type style thing. I might ask you some questions, tell some crazy stories. How did you get into the radio business?
Back in 2008, I went to Dell Tech for a little while to be in communications. And they say that WBOC, which was 93.5, needed an intern.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, yeah, I'll do that. Totally. Not a problem.
Yeah.
And then they offered me a job after I did the whole intern thing. I was getting coffee for people doing stupid stunts and stuff. But then they offered me a job. So I dropped out of college and I was like, why am I going to continue to pay for school when I already have the job I'm going to school for?
No, absolutely.
So I worked my way up from part-time weekends to like a night full-time show to the morning show, outgrew the morning show, took a break, and then I got a call from somebody at WBOC saying, hey, we are looking for a morning guy. You want to be my partner? Sure.
And now the morning shows are like what you want to be in the radio business?
Morning show is like the best position you can be in radio.
Okay.
Morning or afternoon drive, because that's when the most people are listening to you.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That's when I'm usually listening to a podcast or something like that. I try to get you and Sarah in every once in a while. I used to listen to you a lot on 93.5. I remember when you were interning for that, because didn't you have to do an MMA match with Stellar Fights?
Yeah, and I thought I was like fine, because I'm this haughty 19-year-old kid thinking like I have nothing to lose.
I went to that too.
You were there?
I was there, absolutely. Yeah, Sarah and I had to go to that.
This kid was training so hard, and I'm like drinking the night before like an idiot, and now he tore me up.
Yeah, you wore like some purple or pink.
Yeah, those booty shorts.
Yeah, those booty shorts. That was great. Was it? If I remember correctly, it was a wrestling match. It was grappling. Or
just grappling.
It was grappling. Yeah. I just remember after that, you ended up winning. Did you win that?
No.
Or no, he won it. But yeah, at the end of the fight, you were being interviewed, and he was just like, oh my God, that guy's so strong. And you're like, goddamn right, I'm strong. And that's when you started getting into like the gym and stuff too, correct?
Yeah, and that's what I actually took a break from radio from the first time. I did insurance for a little while, and then I realized that I sucked at it.
Ooh, what kind of insurance?
Like car insurance, State Farm.
Oh, okay.
And then it sucked. But I ran a gym for a little while before that. So
okay.
That's what I really got into it, like just pursuing a fitness passion.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I did like shows and stuff. It was cool. Learning the science behind everything. Yeah. Really interesting.
Absolutely. I'm into fitness sort of myself. I'm not into like lifting weights or anything. Last year, I talked about it on my pilot episode. I got into doing like triathlons and shit. I started played soccer my whole life, and I was very good at it, but I started getting old. And it just was not working out for me the way it used to. So I started.
You have to be a different breed of human to do a triathlon.
Yeah, well, I am a different breed of human. At least I like to think I am.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I looked into it. I try to keep myself challenged. I like just talking to people like you, like intelligent people that keep me challenged. And then I like to be physically challenged as well. I mean, I try to run 3 miles a day.
Gosh.
Not lately, because it's been, sub-zero degree temperatures out there, and I probably would fall on my ass because none of the plows got into my development yet. But yeah, I started really looking into doing that last year, and I looked into like the sort of workouts I need to do and the dieting, and I biked, I ran, and I swam. But when I got to the triathlon, the swimming part was a fucking pain in the ass. Like I had to get in the ocean and I had to swim half a mile, and I was not prepared for the current at all. So like I got a quarter mile through it and I started getting like a back cramp, like immediately. And I got out, I started backstroking, and on the way out, a buddy of mine, he's a Marine, and he was showing me how they do survival swims. And it's like you get on your side and you kind of kick your feet like a jellyfish, and you just kind of paddle yourself and try to just run with the tide. And that's what I did. And then after I got out, my cramp let up. I got on the bike, took off, and the biking and the running was nothing.
You need to get a swim spot. You know those things that have like the automatic current for you
Yeah.
that the old people use to like swim against?
Yeah.
Just get a couple of those.
I know, that would be pretty awesome. I did see that. But yeah, that's the kind of fitness I'm into. I'm not into like the heavy weights or anything like that.
So what is the distance for like triathlons?
Now, the one that I did is considered a sprint triathlon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a half-mile ocean swim. It was down in Bethany. I had to go. You get there in the morning and you find out which way the current's going. So they try to get you to swim with the current.
Right on.
So it's half a mile swim, 18-mile bike ride. It was from Bethany to Dewey, turn around, come back, and then a 4-mile run. You would get off, park your bike, and then run down to like South Bethany, run through some of the developments down there, and come back, and the finish line was on the boardwalk.
My gosh.
Yeah. I mean, I got to a point, I did it with a friend of mine, and he started to gas out during the run, and I thought he was going to obliterate me because he's like this, he runs like 5 miles a day, and I'm just like, there's no way, he's going to blow me out of the water. But, excuse me. But I actually caught up with him. He beat me out of the water. I caught up to him on the run, and he started walking. I'm like, what's going on, man? You all right? He's like, I just can't. And I was like, how am I still doing this?
All right, well, I'm just going to smoke you then.
Yeah,
See you later, bro.
I didn't know how I was still doing it at all because I do enjoy running, but I try to, it becomes mental after that. It doesn't matter how much shape you're in. Once you start feeling that pain, it's like you got to figure out a way to work yourself through it.
Endurance. I just got into powerlifting like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And you're talking about endurance. Powerlifting is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
You do one giant lift, you wait 6 minutes, and you do another one.
Yeah.
But you're doing like a bunch of little things, but you're doing it for like 3 hours.
I've always been this endurance athlete.
That's
like
nuts.
I got into CrossFit because I'm like, oh, this is pretty intense. But people that I know started making fun of people that were doing CrossFit.
Absolutely.
Buddy of mine called it it's like the meatspin.com of circuit training. It's just like you're there just to see whose dick's bigger, basically.
Yep.
Slap each other on the ass,
Mm-hmm.
and someone you can call a coach can just help you get up that bar or something like that. So I stayed with it. It was very good. It was challenging, but I was like, this is like, I'm more of an independent person.
Yeah, it's something you would do by yourself.
Yeah, like I could do that by myself. I don't need someone like up my ass like, hey, come on, bud, keep doing it. I don't need that. I could just continue on without that.
Do like victory kisses and stuff, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it was. It was like we did this workout called the Murph. And
I've heard of that. It's pretty intense, right?
yeah, correct. It's in honor of like Sergeant Murphy. He was in that it was about what the heck was that Mark Wahlberg movie? He was like, they were trapped in the mountains of Afghanistan.
13 hours?
13 hours.
Is that the one?
That might have been it. Yeah, they were trapped in the mountains and they had to basically just kind of take cover, hide from the Taliban, and they all ended up obviously dying.
Right.
One of them survived, I believe, but the one that died actually like sacrificed himself. He went to like the top of this mountain to get radio signal to radio the troops to let them know where they were at because he was getting no signal at where they were hiding. So like he came out, basically went up on this mountain, got ambushed, but made the call to get his guys out of there beforehand.
That's the same one where they veiled the whole Hillary Clinton and Benghazi thing, right?
That was 13 hours, I think.
Yeah.
I can't. It bugs me now.
Now we're just talking about two different
I
movies.
know.
at
We're
this
talking.
point.
I know. I'm trying to think of that one, man. It bugs me because it was a really good movie. But that's the Murph. That workout was like made in honor of
that guy. Cool.
Yeah, to honor that guy. So you do like 100 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and then you run a mile. And then actually it starts a mile. You do a mile, do the 100 sit-ups, push-ups, and pull-ups, and then you run another mile after that. And it was just like, how am I going to break this thing up?
I'm getting nauseous just thinking about it, like winded.
Oh my God. I did it, and I didn't get much sleep the night before either, because like my buddy of mine called me and needed a ride, at like the middle of the night. He
course.
just didn't want to drive. So I'm like all getting prepared, mentally prepared for this workout. I'm like, oh, I'm going to beast through this thing. And I go pick him up. I got no sleep the night before, and I had to be there at like 6:30 in the morning to get this workout done. And I was just like, okay, let's just do it, I guess.
Make it happen. That's cool. Well, you didn't die, so you're still here.
And I would split it up into like increments. I would do like 10 push-ups and then do 10 sit-ups and then do 10 pull-ups and then go back to do that. Like this one guy we had that was there, he was like a CrossFit freak. He would do everything all the way through. And I'm like, how are you surviving right now?
So he wants to show off. That's all it is.
That's what it was.
That's all it is.
I'm sitting there just doing push-ups and sit-ups. I'm like, you fucking douche.
I'm here for myself, guy. I'm not here for
I was
you,
like, man, I thought I was going to be the man at this one. I'm like, you're just blowing by me. He just obliterated everybody. So, but that's cool. So what you did, you said you did a fitness show?
Yeah, it's called Physique, and basically, looking back at it, at the time I thought it was really cool because your diet is so on point. You look amazing. Yeah. You look like an underwear model, but just shredded. But then you realize it's a pageant. And you think that's all it is.
It looks like that in pictures when I see people that I know post stuff like that all the time, and I'm just like, it looks like you're just up there. And, you get the crown. You're the king of everybody, or the queen of everybody.
Yeah, and that's what I feel. I feel like the queen of everybody because you're just sitting there in front of a panel of judges, and like other people judge to see who they think looks the best. But when it comes to like powerlifting, it's either you picked up the weight or you didn't. It's a fact. You are stronger than this guy, and numbers are your evidence.
Yeah.
When you're up there, shaking your tail at a bunch of judges. That's their opinion.
You gotta do like butt flexes and shit like that for them and stuff like that.
Yeah, teeth whitening, shave every hair on your body, dude. It was.
Did you like put like what the hell is that stuff? It's like self tan.
It's like spray tan.
Like that? You
Yeah,
just gotta spray tan.
It's like
yourself?
this chick with a paint gun, and she just like sprays your entire body.
Okay.
And I looked black.
Is that provided, or do you have to provide?
You have to pay for it.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, I spent over $1,000 on that competition.
Oh my god.
Just to look back and realize what a girl I was about it. I thought it was so cool.
Hey, you know what? You did it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, people can make fun of people for other shit, so. But with the triathlon stuff, like now, my friend, it's funny, I'm going to tell you this story. This is going to completely veer off in another direction.
Sure.
I went to his house the other day, and he has a triathlon strength training book. This triathlete wrote it. It's like the best things that you could do to prepare yourself for a triathlon. So I go to his house to borrow it from him. He meets me there. He goes on his lunch break. He goes, all right, man, come inside. I want to show you around anyway. So we get in there. And if you're listening, you know who you are. His girl is in there, spread eagle, just flicking her bean on the couch. And it just was like one of the most awkward things I've ever walked into. But it was hilarious. Like, I've seen people doing a lot worse, obviously.
What do you do in that situation?
I didn't really see much. I just saw like a sort of like a ponytail part, and then my buddy was like, whoa! And he turned around and just gave me this look. For my listeners, I'm putting my hands up and giving Corey that deer in headlights look. But he just was like, oh, all right, let's walk this way. And I had no idea what was going on at that point. So I'm like, all right. He's like, follow me back to my room. We get outside, and he goes, dude, do you know what she was in there doing? And I was just like, what? He's like, she was like getting off on the couch. I'm like, oh my God.
Do you look at them both different now? Or?
No, like I've known him for so long. And I've known her too. Like I've been very good friends with him. We went to high school together, played ball together. Again, no judgment. I've walked in on a lot worse. Luckily, I didn't have to.
Did she know you were there though?
No.
Okay, that's cool then. That's fine.
That's the weird thing is because I pulled up and I thought he was home, so I was gonna go knock on the door, and then I saw him pull in, and I'm like, wow, like I'm glad I didn't just like knock on the door or decide to like, I don't know, open the door, just say, hey, you in here?
That could have led to a series of unfortunate events.
That could have been very, very bad. And he would have just pulled in the driveway at the wrong time, probably.
Yeah, she's all getting crazy. Like, I don't care what you do in your spare time. That's fine. And if she didn't know you were there, that's one thing. Yeah. But if she did, like, go to a bathroom or your own bedroom or whatever.
Go to a bedroom and lock yourself in there.
Just hanging out watching Grey's Anatomy, though?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Like, I was like, okay, what was she watching something? He goes, I have no idea. I just turned the corner and I saw way too much. So he turned around and we just hauled ass out of there. It was hilarious. But glad I segued off into that, but that's why I borrowed this book for the triathlon, because it's strength training. It tells you like a lot of things that you can eat, better things you can do to improve my swimming. That's exactly
I'm just here for a book, man.
I'm just here for a book, and that's exactly what I walk into. I'm sure he'll probably text me later or tomorrow when I post this, and he'll be like, oh man. He won't be mad at me though. I'm not going to say his name or anything like that.
That's fine. Just write it down so we can share it, laugh later.
Oh man. So what exactly, like, when you're on WBOC, are you allowed to just like talk about anything? Do whatever you want?
No, and that's the thing.
Script
Like,
to follow.
it's not a script. Like, we can pretty much talk about whatever we want, except let's say there's a mass shooting. We're not going to sit there and we're not going to offer our opinions about what happened during the mass
You
shooting.
just have to report on it, basically.
We let our news people do that, and it's like it's not my job to tell you what happened, to give you figures and numbers and give you my unwarranted opinion about the shooter and if I think he's crazy or whatever. My job is to entertain and to make sure that like I'm being the most positive that I can be.
Yeah.
So when I'm on the air for that 2-minute span, my job is to make you laugh and to make you feel better about where you're going that day.
Yeah.
So let's say that something like Vegas happened, however many people died. I'm not going to sit there and report on it all day. We're going to have a more somber show. But no, we can't just talk about anything. Like if I were to say, I got in a fight last night, I knocked this guy out cold, I can't talk about that on the show.
You're going to get in trouble for that.
Yeah, if I'm like, my wife has, uncontrollable gas, I'm not going to talk about that. Although it's funny to us.
We're going to report on that, right?
Yeah, you're catering to a certain demographic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and we kind of talked about this before we started. Just we're going to get mad about things that we talk about here.
Yeah.
Like, and they might. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's not things that I'm saying. It's things that you're saying,
Yeah, I mean, well, you came on my show. So
exactly.
It's like, hey, and again, that's why I just want to respect everybody's boundaries as well. I have opinions on everything, just as we talked about before we started this, and it could potentially make somebody mad or upset someone. And we live in this day now where everything is sensitive material.
And people are so offended over everything.
Yeah, it's all sensitive material. Like, so if I say like, okay, I voted for Donald Trump, and somebody doesn't like that and get offended.
Well, you're a Nazi.
Yeah, I'm a fucking Nazi.
Right.
Oh, you wait till I get some comments. I did episode 3 yesterday, and I put it up this morning, and it was a topic of that, and it's a controversial topic. I'm not going to go into too many details. It's about like a social psychologist that did an experiment trying to figure out basically why the Nazis did what they did.
Right.
And it's a 10-minute little excerpt. It's a little history lesson. I'm reading off of something that I wrote. And I just it's my objective to get you to think. Let's talk about something controversial. And I ended up spawning a slogan for the podcast as well. It's just control chaos for the free thinker, because you should be able to sit here and have a conversation with somebody, disagree with each other.
Right.
And not lose a friendship or not lose your job over anything like that.
Yeah, Corey, we heard that you voted for Donald Trump and you publicly stated that on Brian's podcast. We're going to have to let you go.
Yeah. So you did vote for Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah, I did too.
It was either him or the end of the world. So
that's we looked at it. I mean, I looked at it like it was the lesser of two evils comp. Somewhat, he's unorthodox. He's like that New York City taxi driver that's our president now.
Yeah, who doesn't think before he speaks.
Yeah,
that's fine.
His Twitter fingers might lead to the nuclear button getting pushed.
They're close.
Kim Jong-un might be fucking just
Yeah.
pushing that button anytime soon.
Yeah.
There's things I don't agree with him on. I wish he would stay off of Twitter most of the time. But is that the necessary sacrifice the country makes to better ourselves? We get this bombastic leader in there.
Right. But there are so many like just way backwards things that our country's looking at now. So we had like 350 some million people in this country. And the two that we chose to potentially run our country were Hillary and Donald. Donald's a businessman. You run the country like a business. I understand that. That's the logical choice.
Yeah.
With my personal background, he keeps God and the Constitution very alive, and that's what I think this country needs right now. But then you have the far left who's saying, all right, well, if you voted for Donald, you're a Nazi.
Yeah.
Then you have guys like Ben Shapiro, who wears a yarmulke every single day of his life. But don't worry, he's a Nazi.
He's a Nazi.
He's a Jew who hates Jews.
Yeah.
And everybody else who's not a white Aryan male.
Yeah. And he could be critical on Donald Trump, too. I mean, he's saying things that we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's some things that he does that he probably shouldn't be doing or things that he shouldn't be talking about. But again, it's like he just passed this new tax plan. I mean, if that's going to put more money into my pocket, right now there is more money in my pocket. My 401k relies on the stock market. The stock market's been up. It just passed 25,000 the other day. That's unheard of. Now, thinking about that, I always think of the future, and I always get anxiety about like, okay, when's it going to crash? Like, it's inevitable. Something is going to happen eventually. But there's more money back in my pocket. Like, what is so wrong with that tax plan? But the left wing people say that he's taking money from the middle class and he's giving it back to the rich. And that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, just looking at my bracket and looking at the taxes that I've been paying under Obama, I feel like that I've been paying more under him.
For sure.
Than I was for Donald Trump.
And you're paying for that universal Obamacare healthcare type thing.
The Affordable Care Act.
Dude, and I'm saying, like, my parents are middle-aged, just like I'm sure yours are.
Yeah.
And, they had to do the Obamacare thing. They're paying like $2,000 or $3,000 a month for healthcare.
It was supposed to be affordable.
Yeah, there's nothing affordable about it if you are a middle class. If both people in your household work, there's nothing affordable about it.
Yeah.
It's targeted to those people who chose not to get a job.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're paying for.
You're trying to force people to get on it, which, again, unconstitutional.
Right.
I mean, the fact that, my sister, for example, she went a year without having health insurance because she was in between jobs. She had to wait a certain period of time before the company that she worked for allowed her to get on the health insurance. She got a tax penalty. I mean, the fact that you're going to penalize people for not taking your health insurance that's not affordable anyway is very unconstitutional.
I took $1,000. It was almost $2,000 for a tax penalty for not having insurance for 1 month.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that's absolutely insane, and that makes people then you're a tax evader. So it's like if you can't pay that bill, which I'm sure you did, but some people can't, then you're a tax evader. Then you got the IRS up your ass. So where does this Affordable Care Act get people?
Then you're seizing your assets. They're taking away your home. They're taking away your car. You're going to jail. You're constantly in debt.
I mean, they talk about like, okay, well, this is a democratic socialism under Obama. It's a good socialism, which it's very dangerous to even think that way because then you're going to have someone who comes in and they're going to take advantage of what socialism actually is. Like Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin did that in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, and if you don't know what socialism is, for your listeners, because like a lot of these terms are being thrown around pretty lackadaisical, I guess.
Yeah, let's unpack that one.
So socialism is basically like, let's say Brian works and he makes $500,000 a year, and let's say that I work kind of part-time and I make $8,000 a year. You are going to distribute the wealth is kind of what it means. So you're going to take your $500,000 a year salary and you're going to pay for everything that I chose not to work for part-time. In a nutshell, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you couldn't have explained it better. I always say it to people, like I have good friends of mine who are teachers, and a lot of them voted for Hillary Clinton. I mean, the teachers' unions and all that kind of stuff is very democratic. But I always say to them, I was like, okay, so what if you went to your students one day? I have friends of mine who teach high school or middle school, and you just said, okay, class, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take all your class averages, the A students, the B students, C students, D students. Instead of you getting that grade, we're going to take all those grades, combine them, and average them out. Everybody's going to get that same grade. What do you think is going to happen then? And this is layman's terms. This is completely sort of realistic, but
it's a great
not.
Example.
Yes.
Because you have the people that strive for excellence, and then you have the people who don't really care, but they both get the same grade.
You're trying to meet them in the middle. So what's that going to do to the people on top? They're not going to work as hard.
There's no motivation.
There's no motivation to keep doing what you're doing if you're going to try to bring the bottom and the top together. It doesn't work out.
Which, now, this might be a stupid theory, but let's say you're at the $500,000 bracket, I'm at the $10,000 bracket. You decide not to work as hard because you're just going to give away most of your money to me anyway. So then let's just say, like, everybody who's getting paid more money, their salaries start decreasing over time. So then the money that's being shared amongst everyone else turns from that $500,000 high end to a $50,000 high end. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So everybody is essentially making less because why would anybody want to graduate college to achieve a $500,000 a year job when they're just going to give that money to somebody else?
Yeah.
You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly how it was. There was this saying, actually my father-in-law said it, once you try to bring the top down, the bottom's going to fall out too. Mm-hmm. It's just like a building. I mean, the building falls down, the foundation's going to go down too. So, again, I mean, it sounds like we're on the same page when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Hey, that's good though.
Yeah. At least we're not going to sit here and bite each other's heads off. We could be friends, right? I don't have to delete you as a Facebook friend because you posted something inappropriate. It is wild, and I'm excited to see the feedback that I get on future episodes because I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. it.
You should.
I'm going
because
to.
nobody's doing it.
The pilot episode, again, we talked about it before we came on. I feel like I sound like a bumbling idiot, but people enjoyed it. People got my point. The second episode, I had Sarah come on. I was like, all right, I'm going to be cute. I'll have the wife on. We'll sit here and just talk about candle stuff. And people actually got enjoyment out of that, too, because it's just a guy and his wife sharing a cool conversation about what she
My wife and
loves
I listened to it today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you have a candle factory in your kitchen. Great.
Yeah, I have a candle factory in my kitchen. I'm raising 2 kids, and then we went into that detail before we even started. So,
yeah, you should raise the heat. I think you
Yeah.
should kind of raise that bar, because there's a lot that a lot of people aren't going to talk about, like the gender fluid thing. I don't really know where that goes, but you're the father of 2 young kids.
Yeah.
And elementary schools now are not some of them are not allowed to refer to your kid as a certain gender because they're not old enough to make the decision of whether or not they want to be a boy.
Now they're trying to make it a certain race. Like, your kid should be old enough to basically say, oh, well, if I feel like a black girl, that's what I'm going to put down in my paperwork. That's
okay.
The left, the people, the liberals, they talk about science and climate change and all that stuff. They take that science and that math and they apply it to their agenda. But when it comes to biology, like, if you're born you're born a man, you are a man. I don't care if you cut it off because you think you're a woman. You're just a man with a mutilated penis. That's all you are.
You're still a guy.
You're Mrs. Garrison now. You know what I mean?
That's how we tell the difference between animals. I mean, when you sex an animal, you look to see whether they have the equipment or if they don't have the equipment.
Exactly.
You know, you have a bull and then you have a heifer. A bull is born with a wean. A heifer's not.
Yeah.
A bull can't suddenly just be like, you know what? I think I'm going to be a heifer today.
Yeah.
I think, that's how you tell the difference between a boy cow and a girl cow. We can't just be like, all right, well, you got your thing chopped off.
These cows are looking at us like these fucking people.
Just because you're born with something doesn't mean that is your gender. That's exactly what it means.
It's how you feel on the inside. Well, Ben Shapiro did this talk show, and I think it was with Dr. Drew. Do you remember Dr. Drew?
Yeah, Loveline, Dr.
Loveline,
Drew.
Dr. Drew. Loveline. I'm so glad that you remember that.
And Adam
I
Carolla.
love that. And
I listen
Adam
to it
Carolla.
every night.
That's so awesome. Oh, man. But yeah, he was on his talk show, and he had like a whole panel of left-wing people, and then Ben Shapiro. And then you had this transsexual reporter who was a man and now a woman, and he basically just asked the guy flat out. He's like, what is your gender, sir? And he just like looked at him and like threatened him on national TV, like, don't talk to me like way, or you're gonna leave here in an ambulance. Like
so he can threaten violence, but he can't talk about his gender.
You can't exactly like you could dish all this stuff out, but it's like you're gonna have people asking you these tough questions. And Ben Shapiro is a guy who's not gonna hold back on it.
No.
He's not.
And he's not the guy that can win a lot of fights either. Let's be honest.
I mean, he's going to chop you up with words. He will. I mean, if you get a brute guy, he could probably beat a guy up just by talking to him.
For sure.
I mean, he could definitely make you cry or pee your pants. I love listening to him. I listen to his podcast every once in a while. So, but yeah, it's.
Then I will now identify as a 18-year-old Filipino girl because I want to get a scholarship to a really good school. As a working white Christian male, I'm not getting anything handed to me, so I'm going to be a Filipino 18-year-old.
Yeah, well, that's what happened with the Massachusetts senator Elizabeth Warren. They found out that she identified herself when she was younger as part Indian American, and Donald Trump calls her Pocahontas.
Yeah, no, that's the girl.
That's the one. That's the one he's calling Pocahontas. Which, I mean, it's hilarious. At the same time, he was doing it in front of like this Iroquois like Indian tribe. He was doing it. And he was like, yeah, you guys know Pocahontas, right? And it's just some of the stuff he does. You're just kind of like, God damn, this guy's racist as shit. But he's not. It's like I just don't think he thinks before he talks. He's not good at articulating things.
No, we laugh about it, but it's not something the president should say, especially on television.
No.
If he's saying it like amongst his boys, I get it.
Yeah, like he's on the bus and he's talking about grabbing women by the you-know-whats.
20 years ago. But don't worry, we got to fault him for it now.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes a good president, if we fault somebody for what they did 20 years ago.
That really cracked me up when they talked about the October surprises right before the election, like something's going to get released, and everybody was like, something's going to bomb Donald Trump, and this is going to be it. And that's the thing that they released. I'm like, is really that it?
That's what you got?
Like,
that's your ammo?
Yeah, that's your ammo. Like, if you said, okay, this guy paid for people to get fucking knocked off, like he has dead bodies in the foundations of his building or some shit like that, like, yes, that's probably going to change my perspective on things. But something like that, I'm just like, look, Like he chalked it up to locker room talk. I mean, I've talked about some inappropriate things before.
We all have, as guys.
Yeah.
It's what we do in our adolescence. We talk about inappropriate things. We learn about what they are.
We're savages, and women do it too.
For sure.
Absolutely. But going back to, we segued off. Let's come back to like the gender neutral stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. I actually listened when I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast for the first time. He had a guy named Jordan Peterson on there, and he's a professor at the University of Toronto in Canada. He's a psychology professor, and they're trying to pass in legislation, and I believe that they did now already since I listened to that podcast, is basically you have to use these gender neutral pronouns, which there's like examples. You have to call somebody Z or Zer. It's almost like fucking Star Trek names, basically.
What does that represent? Z or Zer?
You don't identify as a male or a female. You want to identify as this. You want to be called Z. I think Z is like, okay, you're a feminine, gender neutral person. I didn't really look into the definitions of them. I just knew there was like 25 of them that they were basically forcing these people to use. And he basically said, I'm not doing this. Like the English, like there's a man or a woman, and this is not the English language. Like these are all made up words. It sounds like Star Trek names.
But from your definition, it's still doing the exact thing that they've been trying to avoid. Like Z is the feminine type, Zer is the more masculine type.
You're still putting them in a box.
Like sir and ma'am are what we go by now. It's just you're giving it a weird Star Trek name.
Yeah.
You're doing the exact same thing that you've been trying to avoid this entire time.
It's crazy to see how out of hand it's gotten. Sarah and I, we'll watch like the MTV award shows or the Golden Globes or something. Like we're interested in that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Even though like they go a little crazy sometimes when it comes to Trump. But we were watching the MTV awards last year, and I think it was the movie awards. And the girl who played Hermione in Harry Potter,
Emma Watson.
I think she won an award for being the first actor / gender neutral actor. She was like the actor of the year.
Wow, Hermione is a girl in Harry Potter.
Yeah, but she identifies as gender neutral.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if she's gender neutral, then can she like shapeshift her organs to create what fertilizes the female egg? So technically, she doesn't need a male counterpart. She could just fertilize herself.
Do her ovaries descend down and just become testicles, and then they go back up in her, and then her clit becomes a penis?
It's like Animorphs. Only you can shapeshift your way and fertilize your own parts and then procreate that way.
Yeah.
Why are we even here, dude?
Oh my god.
If she can go ahead and create babies by herself because she's gender neutral, gender fluid, then we're good.
That's what a lot of people think it is. Like these far right conspiracy theorists thinking that they're just basically just trying to smother men and make women just the top of the pedestal now. Like, you know, before you needed a man and a woman to have relations. Now you have all this scientific stuff that a woman doesn't need a man. She can get in vitro. She can use somebody else's sperm. They can create sperm in banks now. Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I actually read something about that. I believe it's over in Switzerland. They basically can take almost like a scratch of someone's skin or anything like that. They can take your DNA and they could just...
Okay, but they still need a guy.
I believe they do still need a guy. I mean, who knows what it's going to be like in 10 years, but it's like you can create sperm. It's amazing.
It's funny you mentioned it's a conspiracy theory because a lot of people are starting to like realize that sitcoms and stuff are now starting to make men look like idiots.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a guy, like if you look at like King of Queens, Kevin James, he always portrays himself to look like that idiot FedEx driver.
Yeah.
You know, and Seinfeld, those guys are idiots. And Elaine just makes fun of how stupid they are the entire time. Friends, you look at like, I mean, it's been going on since the 90s. Yeah. But like slowly the men are starting to become dumber and dumber and dumber and not the leader of the household anymore.
It's become more prominent in Hollywood now, like with movies. Like, did you see the new Ghostbusters?
With the girls.
Mm-hmm. Like, I watched that, and I was like, this is fucking awful. And it had nothing to do with, okay, yeah, you have the women now, which is great. Funny actresses. I love some of the actresses that are in it. I mean, I watch Saturday Night Live. It's a couple Saturday Night Live cast members and stuff like that.
Right.
And Melissa McCarthy was in it. It's a funny story, but like you're looking and reading into it, and you're just like, they're making their secretary, Chris Hemsworth, fucking Thor is their secretary. And they're just like, he's a complete moron. They're just making him look like a complete moron where they kind of just dump on him. Whether if you look back into the '80s Ghostbusters, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and all that, they had that secretary. I can't remember her name to save my life. I was such a huge Ghostbusters fan.
But they're girl actors playing guy parts, and as much as that might offend somebody out there, it's true. You have Dan Aykroyd and all of the '80s guys. That is a part that was created for a guy.
Yeah.
And then you have a girl who's like, no, we're the new Ghostbusters. No, you're kind of like a secondary team. You're a different Ghostbusters team.
Yeah.
You're not Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
You're a remake of this
You're a remake.
idea.
You could see the underlying message of the whole film. That was my point. It was just like, okay, women are here, men are going to be
the stupid secretaries.
Men are just he's just the dumb secretary. Which in the end he ends up, I don't want to spoil it for you. In the end he ends up being the bad guy, causing all this problems anyway. So
he's actually the smart one.
It was kind of funny. Maybe he was actually the smart one.
He fools you, women.
Yeah. It's funny to watch. It's good, but you're just like, okay, I see where you're going with this one. you know what I mean?
Bright, the Netflix movie, is kind of the same underlying.
Yeah, like the first Orcish cop.
Yes.
He's supposed to be black.
Yes.
Will Smith's supposed to be white.
Yeah.
It's like that underlying message there.
Yeah, they're trying to, like, despite the stereotypes that have been created amongst the orcs, you should overlook them and realize that orcs can be good people too.
Yeah.
And that entire time you're just looking at it, you're like really? And then there was like an even like a smaller underlying part that like Christians are held in such high regard, but really they're the bad guys type of a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
You should.
And I have Netflix too. There's so much on Netflix that I enjoy. I binge watched yesterday Planet Earth, the BBC documentary.
Shut up. I watched both of them.
David Attenborough as the narrator.
My gosh.
And it's like kid friendly too. I mean they don't show a whole lot of like wolves killing caribous or anything like that. I sat there and I'm watching this and I'm like, this is amazing.
The shots that they're able to get of
Yeah.
animals completely in the wild.
I love this
they're
segue,
astounding.
by the way.
Yeah, this is so good. Yeah, this is
we
cool.
went from Netflix into watching it. This is why I love doing this kind of stuff because it's like, and you being an easy guest to talk to, by the way. Again, I do appreciate you coming on and taking the time to do that. But it's that show I watched with my son. He got me into watching it because he's into like sharks. He likes watching like sharks tear up a seal. He likes watching dinosaur videos.
He's into boy stuff.
He's into.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
He's into like he's
Gender
into gender neutral stuff. How dare you?
Sorry about that.
How dare you? Don't get yourself in trouble now.
Does your wife like it?
What's that?
Planet Earth.
My podcast?
No, the show Planet. The BBC show.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Well, not really. Like she'll sit there. She put it on for Ian because Ian, my oldest son, was just like bored to tears one day, and she was like, "You might like this," and put it on for him. I doubt she sat there and watched it.
My wife doesn't like it either. She'll yell at me if I put it on.
It'll take a left turn into Snoozeville after a while.
For sure.
I mean, you can't sit there just like the entire day and do it. Like I watched a couple episodes and I'm just like, okay, I need to pump the brakes a little bit.
I know a lot more about lemurs now, but I really feel like we should watch something a little more upbeat.
Yeah. I know a lot about birds in New Guinea, how they try to get laid. This one skit was funny. I actually put it on Snapchat. It was like this. I don't even know what the hell the bird was called because I could barely hear what was going on. He had like his feathers up. He looked like a little mini peacock. And he was like trolling this other little bird. And he was doing like this little dance around her. And it was basically David Attenborough was just like, and this is how they try to pick up women in the jungle. Sort of like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good documentary. I love Netflix. I don't know how cable companies are even still.
We don't even have cable.
You don't have cable?
Nope.
I have DirecTV. And the only reason why I still hold on to it is because, again, I started watching the news again somewhat, and I get my soccer on there. Like, I feel like I have to watch a soccer game on my big flat screen TV. But I'm sure there's a way I could probably stream it on the TV.
For sure.
If I needed to.
We have an antenna. It gets 11 channels.
Yeah.
And then we have Amazon and Netflix.
What kind of channels is it?
We get WBOC, WMDT.
All the channels you need, right?
Yeah, all the new stuff that we need.
We might be leaning into that. I fell in love with DirecTV because we got a good price for it, and I watched like the Nat Geo channels and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now with all this, like the Fire Stick, I think it's called. Amazon came out with the Fire Stick.
Yep.
And Google came out with one too. And I was talking to like my sister, and she was basically saying, you could plug this thing in and find whatever you want. Like if you want to watch it, it's there.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of like bootlegging ways that you can get whatever show or channel or movie you want. I don't know if it's legal though. It might be.
It might not. I mean, like, there's plenty of things out there. The new thing is nowadays, this is how I watch my UFC fights. This is how I watch actually the McGregor-Mayweather fight, is Facebook Live.
That's exactly what I do.
You find, or even Instagram. Like I'll go on Instagram. I don't get on Facebook a whole lot. I started it. It's linked to my Instagram. So if I post something on my Instagram, it goes right to Facebook. But that's how I watched the McGregor Mayweather fight. I'm like, oh, well, this is how I start watching my UFC fights. Because I don't feel like paying all this money to try to stay up till 2 a.m. to watch the main event. Because I can't even make it. I can't even make it past 10 o'clock anymore.
I hear you.
Oh man, just wait till you start having kids, my friend.
Am I dead? Am I gone?
Yeah.
I'm a goner.
No, you'll start realizing how much of an adult you are. It'll be 9 o'clock at night. You'll probably get a pair of glasses. You'll be sitting on your couch and you'll be reading yourself some sort of book that you wouldn't read 10 years ago, and you'll just like look around and go, "What happened to me?"
The Young Mind and the Free Thinker by Harold Johnson.
Yeah, or like a self-help book, like "Get me through this life with these boys." My wife's aunt gave her a book too. It was like raising boys and stuff. It was about basically like how boys think, how they act, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, Sarah, you don't need to read that shit.
No.
Yeah, I'm like, you could figure it out as you go along. I look at it like this: if you ever plan on having kids or anything like that, nothing's going to be perfect. You're not going to be a perfect parent. I always recommend get your kids involved in something that almost helps you with being a parent, because there's something that Sarah and I are going to miss when it comes to raising Miles and Ian. I mean, we send them to church. We send him to Hapkido. He goes to Hapkido. He plays soccer.
Right.
We try to get them around other people that are positive influence as well, that might teach them something that I might miss. And I know I'm going to end up missing it.
So it's almost like it's just in addition to your parenting.
Yes.
It's just like almost like a throwing you a bone type of a deal. Like, hey, here, give this a shot.
Yeah, here, give this a
Give
shot.
Hapkido a shot. Give church a shot. Give this a shot. Okay.
Give this kind of stuff. And we're going to keep him in church. I mean, he really enjoys that kind of
Good.
stuff. And
That's awesome.
I'm going to raise him in the religion that I was raised on. We enjoy it. We went there this morning, and it was like you couldn't find a parking spot to save your life.
Because all the other churches were closed.
Yeah, not in Catholic Village. No.
They're
It's
all
funny.
forever.
Yeah, it was funny. The priest like made an announcement too. He's like, "Look, I get the weather's bad out there." He's like, "But we will never cancel mass." They won't. I mean, they don't have a tradition of doing it. It's just like you go, even if people don't show up, even if like 5 people show up, they're still gonna go through with mass, which I gotta respect that.
For sure. But what if the older people that try to drive there get in an accident? And it's just because they're
exactly. I mean, basically, he just said, use your senses. Like you're not gonna be damned into eternal hellfire because you missed Sunday Mass with 3 feet of snow on the ground.
Ethel, who's 93, I haven't missed a service in 38 years. I'm not going to start today.
Yeah. I'm going to take this Uber thing down the street and I'm going to just pile over this 3 foot of snow and roll into the front door maybe.
So with your kids being, like we were talking about how you, it's kind of hard to figure out where the kids are going or something along those lines. But I feel like since you have boys, guys are dumb. We can tell you what
we're
we
simple
want.
creatures.
Like as an adult boy, you'll be able to look at a young boy and see where he's going. You can be 10 steps ahead of him. Girls are what scare me because like girls, you have to really mine their brain to figure out where they're headed.
Yeah.
You can never predict what a woman does. And we're both married men. Like we have that issue where we can't really figure out what we did wrong.
They are the most difficult creatures out there.
But she knows where I'm going 10 steps ahead of me.
Yeah.
She's like, no, don't do this. Or you're thinking this because you want to do this, and then it'll eventually lead to that.
We are simple creatures.
For sure.
I mean, like, make me a sandwich, let me sit on the couch, kick on my feet in my recliner, and I think I'm okay with that. They know where our heads are going.
I vacuumed today. Doesn't that make me a good husband?
Yeah. I didn't plan on doing that. I just vacuumed. Are you proud of me?
Right.
Well, I mean, we're heading into 45 minutes. So, I mean, I hope you can come on again. That'd be pretty awesome.
No, I don't think so. This has been terrible.
This is bullshit, right?
No, man, this is really cool. This is my... You popped my... You popped my blossom. What is that? What is it?
Pop the cherry?
Yeah. Of being on a podcast. I've never done that before.
I can't believe that, too. The guy being on the radio, no one's ever had you come on a podcast.
No.
You actually offered to come on mine, which...
Well, that's because you and I have known each other for a long time, and I saw you got it started, and I was like, this could be cool.
Yeah.
Other people are like, I think I'm going to start a podcast, and then they shoot out these ideas that are just so stupid.
Yeah.
Why would you even think for a second that a majority of people would be interested in hearing you talk about that?
Yeah. There's a show. There are some podcasts out there, which I can't believe they're even in existence. There's this one out there called The Gilmore Boys. and it's literally two gay guys, and they talk about episodes of the Gilmore Girls.
And people listen to it.
And it's like one of the top podcasts in the United States.
Seriously?
Yeah, and there's another one these two girls came out with. Actually, they were on Joe Rogan like a month
I know
ago.
exactly who you're talking about.
Guys, we fucked.
Yes.
Yes. I'm like, interesting. Yes, I'm sure.
Right.
I mean, we just talked about guys are simple creatures.
So you have all these guys that subscribe because of just the name of alone.
They want to hear it. Yeah.
And they weren't really famous. Joe made a point about that. They weren't famous people. They just had a really good podcast and people listened to it.
Yeah.
But other people that are getting started, especially like where we live, stop being stupid. Just if you think of an idea, run it by 5 or 6 other people before you really get started.
That's what I had this idea in my head for the longest time, and I'm like, hey, I'm a pretty well-spoken, well-read guy.
For sure.
I know some things. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I have interesting people in my life, guys I could talk to, like you. I know a ton of other people that I'm like, I enjoy the conversation I have with them. Let's get this out there for people to listen to.
Yeah.
And it started with the artwork. Sarah did the artwork. She did my logo.
She did your logo?
She did the logo in Photoshop. She's a fucking black belt in Photoshop.
Yeah, it looked killer.
I gave her a concept. I said I want it to look nuts. I want it to catch people's eye. The artwork alone, like I've gotten a lot of good feedback on just the artwork. I mean, if you scroll through that and see that in your podcast, you're like, whoa, that's a crazy logo. I wonder what that's about. This is going to be all freestyled. I'm going to have people on. I'm going to talk to them. We're going to have some fun, get a few laughs. Or I might do a segment like I did yesterday where I talk about something historic or controversial or technology.
Sure.
I'm just going to let it. That's why, hence the opening head and all this shit pouring out.
Your logo is what got me. Like, that's what I stopped. I looked at it and it was just like, it's a very well done logo. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I see what he's doing here. This is pretty baller, as the kids would say. So that's when I direct messaged you because I didn't have your number.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, if you ever need me to be a part of this is cool. You're
Absolutely.
a smart guy. I could get behind you doing this. You're not one of those other idiots who think that other people want to hear them talk.
Yeah, I got to come on your show now if I'm ever allowed to. After they hear
for
this,
sure.
you're like, this guy is not coming on WBOC.
Local podcaster. Yeah, that would be great.
Oh my gosh. But hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to do this.
Of course, anytime.
Everybody out there, listen to WBOC 102.5 in the morning, Sarah and Corey. What are you guys on? 5 a.m. to 10 a.m., I believe?
5:30 to 10, yeah.
5:30 to 10. Listen to them. Hey, man, appreciate it. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that episode of the podcast. I appreciate Corey. I can't stress this enough. I do appreciate his time for coming on. I know he's a busy guy. We had some fun. I apologize for some of the sound issues. I sound like I have an echo in my voice for some odd reason. It didn't sound like that this morning when I listened to this. But overall, I'm still trying to learn this sound stuff. Corey was actually giving me some tips on some stuff before we went on and did this podcast. But moving on as promised, after every episode I'm going to do on this day in history, and today is January the 8th, 2018. On this day in 1790, President George Washington delivers the first State of the Union address to the assembled Congress in New York City. Washington's address gave a brief but excellent outline of his administration policies designed by Alexander Hamilton. The former commander-in-chief of the Continental Army argued in favor of securing the common defense, as he believed the preparedness for war to be one of the most influential means of preserving peace. Washington's guarded language allowed him to hint at his support for the controversial idea of creating a standing army without making an overt request. Also on this day in history in 1877, Crazy Horse, the war leader of the Lakota Indian tribe, and his warriors, outnumbered, low on ammunition, and forced to use outdated weapons to defend themselves, fight their final losing battle against the United States cavalry in Montana. The Lakota leader took up arms against the United States federal government to fight land encroachment by white American settlers. What a shocker. Also on this day in 1916, Rembrandt Bugatti, a sculptor and younger brother of Italian auto designer and manufacturer Ettore Bugatti, commits suicide at the age of 31 after a long battle with aggravated depression, which was believed to be triggered by the time he spent as a paramedic during World War I. And finally, on this day in 1941, one of Hollywood's most famous clashes, Clash of the Titans, an upstart boy genius filmmaker versus a furious 76-year-old newspaper tycoon heats up. William Randolph Hearst forbids any of his newspapers to run advertisement for Orson Welles' new movie, Citizen Kane. Controversial movie at the time. It was considered to be based off the life of William Randolph Hearst. And it also was considered to be, at the time and today, the greatest movie of all time, period. Well, I hope you guys enjoy these little things that I put together. I hope you enjoyed the last episode of Opinions May Vary. I'm going to try to do little small episodes like that just to keep you guys guessing and have some fun with it. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Look forward to the next episodes. Later.